The one where she saw a fairy.
Yeah, like in her garden or something.
Yeah, it totally blew up online.
I know, right?
Everyone was talking about it.
And so, of course, that got me thinking. And, well, we're doing a deep dive on fairies today.
Real fairies.
Yeah, not just like Tinkerbell.
Like the real deal.
Exactly. Like, what if they really exist?
Huh. That's interesting because a lot of people just think they're like a fantasy.
Right.
Just made up.
But like people have believed in them for centuries.
I know. It's like across so many different cultures.
And like our ancestors weren't dumb,
Right. They knew a lot about nature.
Exactly. So like, what if they were really seeing something?
Something we've just kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, or just haven't rediscovered yet.
Because like we're still finding new species all the time.
Right.
Even in like the 21st century.
That hobbit thing.
Homo floresiensis?
Yeah. The Homo, what?
Floresiensis.
Oh, okay.
They found them in Indonesia.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah, like a real life hobbit.
It's crazy.
It really is.
So like, what if fairies are just like a modern version of that?
Hiding right under our noses.
Exactly.
Because they're so good at hiding.
Well, yeah. And think about like all the crazy things in nature.
Camouflage, bioluminescence.
Right.
Even echolocation.
It's like nature has a million ways to be sneaky.
Exactly. So maybe fairies have evolved their own ways to stay hidden.
Okay, but like, let's be real for a sec.
Okay.
How do they fly?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, like, can something that small actually fly?
Well, I mean, the laws of physics still apply.
Right, like gravity and all that.
Exactly. But scientists are actually studying insect flight.
Really?
Yeah, to make better drones.
Oh, wow.
By mimicking the way insects fly, we're creating technology that can, like, maneuver really well.
So like, maybe fairies have their own kind of technology.
Like a biological technology that's evolved over millions of years.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool.
And don't forget, evolution is all about adapting. Right.
So what if fairies evolved in a place with lower gravity or a denser atmosphere?
That would make it easier to fly.
For sure, especially for something small and light.
Okay, that's a really interesting way to think about it.
You know what's even more mind-blowing?
What?
The idea that fairies might be connected to quantum physics.
Wait, what?
I know it sounds crazy.
It kind of does.
But hear me out.
Okay.
One of the weirdest things in quantum mechanics is this idea of superposition.
Superposition.
Yeah, it basically means that a particle can exist in multiple states at once.
Like at the same time.
Yeah, until you observe it.
Okay, I'm not sure I follow.
Think of it like a coin spinning in the air.
Okay.
Until it lands, it's both heads and tails at the same time.
Oh, okay, I see.
So now imagine a fairy doing that.
Like a fairy being heads and tails.
No, like existing in multiple places at once.
Whoa!
Moving between different dimensions or realities.
And then, like, we only see them when they choose one spot.
It's like our observation forces them to pick a form so they can be all around us.
But we only catch glimpses.
Like when they decide to show themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And think about those stories of fairies just vanishing.
Poof.
Maybe they're not vanishing.
Then what are they doing?
Just shifting to a different quantum state.
One that we can't see.
Outside our normal perception.
Okay. This is getting trippy.
It is, isn't it?
But it's also kind of awesome.
It makes you think about all the things we don't know.
Right. Like, what if magic is real?
What if it's just science we haven't figured out yet?
Okay, so does this, like, quantum fairy idea connect to any real folklore?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like what?
Well, have you ever heard of thin places?
Thin places?
Yeah, it's a Celtic thing.
I don't think so.
So basically they're like these spots where the boundary between our world and the other world is really thin.
The other world?
Yeah, like the realm of fairies and spirits.
Oh, okay. So like maybe those thin places are just areas where quantum superposition is stronger.
That's one way to think about it.
Where it's easier to cross between realities.
Yeah, like the veil is thinner.
And that's why people see fairies there.
It's a possibility.
Okay, wow. This is blowing my mind.
It's a lot to take in, I know.
But it's so cool.
It really makes you think.
And it makes those old fairy tales seem a lot more real.
That's the fun part, isn't it?
Yeah, like what if those stories are actually based on something real?
What if we've just forgotten how to see it?
I love that idea.
Me too.
Okay, so we've talked about fairies hiding and flying.
And quantum stuff.
Yeah, but there's one more thing that always gets me.
What's that?
Magic.
Ah.
Like, how do they do it?
Well, that depends on what you mean by magic.
Like, you know, spells and enchantments.
Okay, but what if magic is just a way of describing things we don't understand yet?
Like with science.
Exactly. Think about electricity.
Okay.
A few hundred years ago, it would have seemed like magic.
Because people didn't know how it worked.
Right, they had no way to explain it.
So they called it magic.
But then we figured out the science behind it.
And now we use it every day.
It's not magic anymore, it's just technology.
So like maybe the same thing will happen with fairies.
Maybe what we call magic is just advanced technology or a deeper understanding of nature.
That we haven't discovered yet.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a really cool way to look at it.
It's all about perspective.
And like maybe we're not giving ourselves enough credit.
For what we might be able to do.
Or for what might already be out there.
The universe is full of mysteries.
I know, right?
And who knows what we might discover now.
Okay, so this is all super fascinating.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
But I have to ask.
What is it?
Why are fairies always girls?
That's a good question.
Like, why are they so feminine?
Well, think about what they represent.
Like what?
Beauty, nature,
Yeah.
and a kind of wild energy.
Like they're free spirits.
Exactly. And they're not always sweet and innocent either.
Right, they could be mischievous.
Even dangerous.
It's like they have two sides.
Like a duality.
Which is kind of like how people think about women.
You know, the capacity for both nurturing and destruction.
For being gentle and fierce.
Exactly. And maybe that's why they're so compelling.
Because they reflect something real.
About the feminine archetype.
That's deep.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, so fairies are like powerful feminine figures.
Who are connected to nature.
And they might even have magical powers.
Or at least what we would call magic.
Right, but let's not forget about the whole guardian of nature thing.
Oh, yes, that's important too.
Like in those stories where people mess with a fairy ring and then bad things happen.
Exactly. It's like the fairies are protecting their domain.
Their home.
And by extension, protecting nature itself.
So maybe we should be more like fairies.
In what way?
More respectful of the environment.
I see what you mean.
Like what if we really believed that harming nature would anger some powerful force?
It might change our behavior. We'd be more careful about polluting.
And cutting down trees.
We'd be more mindful of our impact.
So like embracing a fairy mindset could actually be good for the planet.
It's an interesting thought.
I know, it sounds kind of crazy.
Well, a lot of people would probably say that believing in fairies is childish.
Or unscientific.
Exactly. But why are we so afraid of the unknown?
Unknown.
Maybe it's because embracing the unknown requires vulnerability.
Like letting go of control.
Yeah, admitting that there are things we can't explain.
It's easier to stick with what we know.
To stay within the boundaries of science.
But what if we're missing out on something amazing?
By limiting ourselves like that.
What if there's a whole world of possibilities out there that we just haven't discovered yet?
I think there is.
And maybe fairies are the key to unlocking it.
Maybe they can help us see the world with fresh eyes.
With a sense of wonder and possibility.
Like we did when we were kids.
I love that.
It's about keeping that spark of magic alive.
Even as we grow older.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe that's how we make real progress.
By being open to the unknown.
By embracing the magic of the universe.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm officially a fairy believer.
Welcome to the club.
But like, how do we actually do this in real life?
Do what?
Like be more like fairies.
Ah, I see what you mean.
It's not like we can just sprinkle ourselves with pixie dust.
Or can we?
Wait, are you serious?
Maybe not literally, but there are definitely ways to cultivate that fairy energy.
Okay, tell me everything.
First things first, we need to talk about nature. Well, we got to spend time in nature.
Like, go outside.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's not exactly groundbreaking advice.
I know, but it's amazing how many people just don't do it.
True.
Go for a walk in the woods or sit by a lake.
Or just hang out in your backyard.
Right, just be present in nature.
Okay, I can do that.
And while you're there, really pay attention.
To what?
To everything, like the way the sunlight looks through the leaves, or the sounds of the birds.
I like birds.
So you notice the little details.
Like what?
Like the patterns on a butterfly's wing.
Oh yeah, those are pretty cool.
Exactly. It's all about being mindful.
Okay, so spend time in nature, be mindful.
Yeah.
Got it.
What else do fairies do?
They're creative.
Exactly.
Like they make art and music and stuff.
So tap into your own creativity.
Like find a creative outlet.
Yes, exactly.
Like painting or writing or whatever.
Anything that gets your creative juices flowing.
Let your inner child out to play.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Have fun with it.
And don't worry about being perfect.
Yeah, just enjoy the process.
Exactly.
Okay, so nature, creativity, what else?
What about those big fairy dreams?
Oh yeah, like all the impossible things they do.
So challenge yourself to dream big, too.
You mean like set goals?
Yeah, goals that might seem a little crazy.
Like flying to the moon?
Well, maybe not that crazy, but, something that really pushes you.
Something that scares you a little.
Don't let fear hold you back.
Because what's the worst that could happen?
You might surprise yourself.
Or you might fail.
True, but even if you don't achieve the goal,
The journey itself can be amazing.
You learn and grow along the way.
It's all about the adventure.
Exactly.
So be more like a fairy.
Embrace the impossible.
Dream big.
And make some magic happen.
I love it.
It's all about bringing that fairy energy into the real world.
So, like, what are some practical things we can do?
Well, we've already talked about spending time in nature.
Right. Be present. Observe the details.
And nurturing your creativity.
Letting that inner child come out to play.
But there's more.
Like what?
Think about how fairies protect nature.
Yeah, they're like guardians of the forest.
Exactly. So maybe we can do the same thing.
You mean like become environmental activists?
Well, you don't have to go that far.
Then what?
Just be more mindful of your impact.
Like recycle and stuff.
Yeah, and be conscious of your consumption.
All right.
Support sustainable businesses.
Make eco-friendly choices.
Exactly. Little things can make a big difference.
So like channel your inner fairy and protect the planet.
Exactly, and don't forget about those big fairy dreams.
Oh yeah, the impossible ones.
What if we applied that same thinking to our own lives?
You mean like believe in ourselves more?
Yes, and don't be afraid to go after what we want.
Even if it seems impossible.
Because sometimes the impossible is just waiting for someone to believe in it hard enough.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is, isn't it?
So like embrace your inner fairy and make some magic happen.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll inspire others to do the same.
That would be pretty cool.
It would, and that's what it's all about, really.
Spreading the fairy magic.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've learned a lot about fairies today.
From hiding in plain sight to flying with quantum physics.
To protecting nature and embracing the impossible.
And maybe they're more real than we think.
Or maybe they're just a metaphor.
But either way, they teach us valuable lessons.
About believing in ourselves.
And about the magic that exists in the world.
If we're just open to seeing it.
Exactly.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of fairies.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep believing in the magic.
And keep exploring the impossible.